Hey Cisco friends, so in this video I want to go over about this exercise over here. So what we're doing here in this topology is we're gonna work with inter-VLAN routing, and on the router we're gonna work with the trunking and interfaces, and on the switch we're gonna create the VLANs. So basically what inter-VLAN is, as you can see, is VLAN 10 to the 10 network, VLAN 20 to the 20 network, 30 to the 30, it's corresponding. So what happens is, since these three PCs are in three different networks but on the same switch, if I want to talk from PC1 to PC2, it's going to send a message to network 20. So since it's not in the switch, since this network doesn't recognize on the switch, it'll send it to the default gateway, which is the routing table, and the routing table is going to change the packet. It can modify the packet to change it back and send it back in so that it can reach the 20 network and vice versa. So what we're doing with this interface right here is we're going to make this into a trunk, and a trunk basically comes from old telephone trunking, which basically means putting multiple telephone lines together. That's what trunking is. Trunking is allowing multiple VLANs to jump across this interface so that the switch can forward the VLANs, any VLAN, any network really, to the router. The router will change it and then send it back. So we're going to go ahead and start with setting the topology. And the topology, it's what is that, a 1941 router. That's what we've been working with. I'm going to go ahead and name this real quick. Okay. Looks like my computer froze. Come on, computer. You can handle my beast, I know you can. That's terrible. Just kidding. Anyways. Okay, so that's the switch, right? And we're gonna go ahead and add a couple of PCs. Too fast. I'm gonna go ahead and write VLAN 30, you know, it's corresponding. VLAN 20. So you want to get comfortable working with packet tracer, but the truth is packet tracer is not really perfect. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Okay, now we need our cables. So we've got copper straight through and crossovers. So this is from computer to switch. It's going to go into the fast Ethernet, and we want this on the 11, and we want this into the 18. From Ethernet to Ethernet. So right now you can see the amber because it's thinking, like, negotiating the speed and stuff like that, and broadcasting, getting to know the connections. So they're all fighting for the attention of the switch right now. But we can go ahead and time travel into the future to return screen. So here we're going to go ahead and go from 0 to 0. 0, 1 to 0, 1. So you only use the crossover when it's router to router, right? Okay, so now we have our topology set up. I'm going to go ahead and label these guys. So you can press this icon up here, or you can press N. You can automatically type a checkbox. So it's going to be our network 10, right? Network 10 dot 0. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this address. So, oops, did not mean to open that. Please don't open. Press N, click anywhere. So this allows me to see the networks, and because we see here VLAN 99, it's in its own network really. It's not really in the topology, but I'm going to go ahead and add that because it is a virtual network, and the network is 99.0. VLAN 99. Okay, cool. Gucci. So we're going to go ahead and configure the PCs. So in the PCs, we could see that they have corresponding virtual network and the unique hosts. So 10.21, and the gateway is always the first available IP address of the network. So network 10.1, network 10.0, the first available host is 1. Same for this one. It's going to be on the network 20, and the unique host number is going to be 22. And the gateway is going to be the first available network 20 IP address, which is 1. The network 20.0. I don't like to say network 20.0 because I'm including host portion, but having it as a 0 helps in this case only because it's the subnet mask of 24. So network 30.0. But right here we're giving it the unique host number. The first available of the 30.0 network is 1. That's just a little thing that companies like to do. Now that we set those up, I'm going to go ahead and configure the router and the switches. What I want to teach you guys in this video is really how to troubleshoot without having to memorize all the commands, really, because you don't have to memorize the commands, you just have to know how to work with them. So again, if you know how to use this question mark, question everything, eventually you will find it and you know that you want to go here. And our next options, there's too many, but something about configure, right? So there's conf space question mark gives you the next available options. Very important. Pressing tab finishes the command for you. It's very handy. Go ahead and press space question mark, and I'll show you that's the end of the line. So here, you get all these commands. So the first thing you want to do is disable DNS lookup. Eventually, you will find that what you're looking for is a negate no. Go ahead and press no, space question mark. It'll send you back to the list because we're negating some of the options here that we had. So DNS and IP are like peanut butter and jelly, right? Because they like to translate IP addresses into names. It's like having a phone book, basically. Something like that. So anyways, from here we can see we got 3 domain options. Like the one we want is the domain lookup to enable it, which is domain. And it's like, which one do you want? Notice I didn't press space, I just typed it in. So go ahead and press tab and finish it, and that's the end of the line. We've disabled DNS lookup. Now it wants us to go into the line console. So going back here, eventually you'll find out there's a line option, right? So line console space question mark, don't question that, and then 0. Now what we do here in our line configuration, here we got exec timeout. Careful, we got 2 logins. We have 1, 2, the log synchronous, and change the host name. We'll do the host name later. That's in global config mode. So go ahead and type the distinguishable characters. Exe is for timeout. Question space question mark gives you the next argument that you need, the parameter, in minutes. That's correct. Okay, good. So remember, there's 2 of those. So logging space question mark synchronous. Okay, that's great. Now we go back to global config. The last thing we needed to do was to configure the device name. So we find here, set the network name, host name, S1. Okay, looking good. Now we want to do the same thing on the router. So I'm just going to go ahead and just eventually, it's really good to start out with this, but you'll get used to pressing tab, letting it finish for you. Host name 1. Next step is we need to configure the IP addresses on the table. So on the router, okay, let's get into it. So right here we've got sub-interfaces, right? We're using one interface to create sub-interfaces. So interface, blah blah blah, G0.1.10. What are sub-interface configuration? What are options here? So in order to enable trunking, we have to create a way for it. If you could just put the IP address here, as you can see, the next option is IP. you will probably get an error that's saying that. Let's go ahead and just try it. So this is for 10 network, right? We're giving it this address, and it complains. It's saying you can only configure this address to the subinterface if it's configured as a trunk or ISO VLAN. Not sure what that ISO VLAN is, but basically, going back to our command, this is what we need. We need to set an encapsulation. And then it's asking for, it's letting us know that the next one is D.1Q, and asking for this is the number, parameter that's asking for, description, trunking, a VLAN ID. So, since we're in subinterface 1.10, I'm going to go ahead and put 10 for VLAN 10. Okay, now we can add the IP address. Just one. It's kind of like a way to return to the switch, because the default gateway points to this particular subinterface. And we have to go ahead and not shut down it. We could shut the whole thing down if you just go into the G01. I'll show you guys afterwards. Anyways, going back to our list here, we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing. 20 IP address. Remember, this is our 20 network. Okay. Okay, I'm not gonna shut it down yet. I just shut. No, shut it later. So again, I don't want you guys to memorize anything really. You just gotta know how to work your way around, and hopefully you start to see a pattern. Okay, and we need 2 more interfaces. Oop, I almost did the wrong thing. 88 IP addresses. So it's going to be on the 88 network. This is for the native, right? Because we care about our natives. And G01.99. I believe this is our management one. Yes, it is. So encapsulation.99 IP address. So the tab really helps me spell stuff without really spelling anything. Very fun tool to get used to. Okay, so now that I've configured all the trunking subinterfaces, I'm going to go ahead and go into G01 and issue the no shutdown. So we can see if we have our 10 go up, 20, 30, or 88, and 99 go up. And we can verify this by looking at, if you press N, it goes back into user exec mode. Show. Okay, let's not get too complicated. But anyways, I'm looking for show interfaces. I believe it can be trunk. There's no trunk here. Show and B. I'm sorry. I'm looking for show IP int brief. That's what we're looking for. So we can see we set this correctly. 88 to the 88. Okay, it looks good. Now I'm going to go back to our switch over here. And it looks like it was activated because it's active on both sides. For here we want to create the interface int VLAN 99. What are options? Well, we can give it an IP address if we want, right? Right there, it asks for an IP address or a DHCP. I'm going to go ahead and enter that 99 network in with its own host. The 10. It's going to ask you for the subnet, of course. Oops. What the heck? Come on, come back. Stop dozing off. Okay, now that we set that off, remember it is an interface, right? So as we can see is we do have to set it up because it is an interface. So we issue the no shutdown command. And it's gonna still show up as down. And that's because we haven't created the VLAN 99 yet. We just created the interface. But once we create the interface, the VLAN, we should be able to use the interface. Okay, so now we assigned it, we create a name, the VLANs on S1, on a table port should be in access mode. So remember, there can only be two modes, which is access, which is specific VLAN to many ports, or it could be a mode trunk, which is multiple VLANs. So access is one VLAN, trunk is multiple VLANs, okay? So we look at our port right here. We're gonna go back into global config. So if you look long enough, what's the deal with VLANs? Go ahead and find it. To do space question mark. We're gonna get 10. Okay, now we're in the VLAN. We'll look at the question mark options. We can name it, right? Faculty, staff. Anyways, I'll let you name those. But I'm gonna go ahead and create VLAN 20, VLAN 30, VLAN 88, VLAN 99. I'm not gonna bother to change other names really. Oh, now that we've created it, it can use it. It's fantastic. That's what we wanted. Now the VLAN exists and the interface is operable. And I'll show you guys. Here we have it up as yes, up and down. We'll worry about that later. Okay, so I want to assign the switch ports, right? We're looking at the switch ports. We're going to go back to global config. Switch ports. Of course, there's no switch ports because I'm not in an interface. So what I meant to write is interfaces. Okay, so interface, we got a range because we're dealing with the range here. I'm going to go ahead and, because it does say, let's see, to assign them, configure S1 to trunk, allow it, set the VLAN. So for now, let's just look at this. All ports not assigned, the VLAN should be disabled, and we're ready to create the names, and we're going to configure the access ports, okay? So range, ones that are not being used, I don't see any 1 through 5, I do 6 to 10, 11 to 17. So I'm going to go ahead and start at F06 to 10. Now that we're in interface, I'll go ahead and modify the interface, which is the port on the switch port. Get the options we got here. So we can focus on these three things, okay? The characteristics. This allows us to put which VLAN, which characteristic, which VLAN on this interface. And the mode, it's either access for VLAN specific or trunk for no discrimination really. Okay, so we got trunk characteristics, access characteristics, and mode. So you want the mode, and then we see here it gives us 2 modes, right? Well, actually 3 modes, but we only want to work with 2 in this lab. So go ahead and put access, that's the on the line, yes it is. Switch port, now we want to go into access characteristics. So it's asking for, which VLAN would you like to assign this? And we check here that it's a VLAN 30. It's asking for a number. Okay, good. So now we're going to go ahead and put interface range. You don't have to exit, you could just go ahead and, let's see, F011, 17. Okay, we want to make that into a mode access. We only want a certain VLAN to go into this interface. So access, now it's asking for VLAN, space, question mark, don't question it guys, just do it. Asking for VLAN 10. Okay, good. Switch port mode. Okay, now let's jump into our other interface, which is F018 24. And I forgot the range, right? So you can always press Ctrl A to jump back to the front. It's an extra tip, you don't really need to remember that. We want to be access mode, and then we want to connect switch port access VLAN, and then 20. Okay, so now that we did that, okay, now let's go ahead and check. So our trunk is an interface as well. Show interface VLAN. Hold on. Show IP VLAN. Okay, looks good. Okay, these are VLANs. So we want to go ahead and configure the native, and we do that by going into the interface that we want, which is G01. Remember, we're dealing with the interface, which is the switch port. It's a port on the switch. To get you guys that mentality. So for this guy, we go into mode, and we want to make that into a trunk. Because remember, the G01, this is our trunk, right? We want to enter VLAN. Think of it as it shoots from one VLAN, boop, and then magically it changes the packets into the Ethernet frame, and then it's able to reach to wherever it wants to go. That's what we want as a trunk. So we want to, yep, that's the end of the line, and we've created that trunk. What did I do? Yeah, I created it as a switch port. Okay, so we made the G01 interface into a trunk, right? So now we want to change the trunk characteristics. So we do that by going to trunk, and it gives us two options, native or allowed. So we want to put the native as 88 native, and asking for a VLAN. Okay, good. Space question mark. Okay, guys. Switch port trunk, and now allow the VLANs and set the native VLAN. Okay, so over here, because now that we've set it as a trunk, we want to change the characteristics of the trunk. So allowed VLAN, and these are our options really. We can add them by their name, we can add them to the list, we can add all. But one short way to do it is just to add them with commas. And we want all the VLANs to be able to cross this trunk. Okay, so we got 10, 20, 30, 88. You probably don't have to add 99 unless you wanted to telnet into, which is not really safe, but I'm going to go ahead and add it. Okay, now that we've configured trunk mode, now we can go ahead and user show the interface trunk that we've set up. Right, that's what it says. Show interface trunk. So as you can see, we've made it into trunking mode. The native is 88, and these are everything VLAN is allowed. There's no discrimination there. Okay, we disabled that. Did we do the switch default gateway? So show run. As you can see, the first 5 are not active. So this is correlation to access mode, and the only thing that can access is VLAN 30. So here we could see the interface, its address, the virtual interface address, and it looks like it doesn't have an IP default, I believe. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and add that. So I know it's IP, there it is, default gateway 192.168, and the switch is on server, VLAN, it's on the network 990, but you wanted to send it into, okay, let's see if that works. There you go. Okay guys, I believe we did it all. Now let's troubleshoot real quick. I'm going to go ahead and ping this PC to this PC, and it fails. And that might fail on the first time because of some ARP request that it couldn't go through, but look at that, we've got the success. So from PC to PC2, now let's ping from here to here, from here to here. So it looks like we're getting successes. Okay, let's try the router now. So from the router, I'm going to go ahead and press and just router to this. How about switch to router? Don't like that. Okay, now the switch to router. Hold on, let me try it again. So I want to switch to this VLAN. Let me switch to the router. So this is like pinging. It's really a time in favor. But if you really wanted to find out what happens, is you go into simulation mode, and then let's say, I want to send this packet to this guy over here. So go ahead and you can see that it sends it to the switch. The switch recognizes that it's nowhere, so it sends it to the default gateway on the IP address. So the trunking picks it up, and then it changes it, blah blah blah, and then it sends it to corresponding VLAN, because the router, using the routing table, is able to change the IP packet, the Ethernet frame. It injects it, right? It tags it with where it needs to go, and it's just basically coming back. So let's stop. We just go back to real time, and I hope this helped. You guys have any questions? So remember, we're working with different networks, so we call them virtual networks because they're supposedly hardware-wise on the same local area network, so they must be software networks. And we create the sub-interfaces here and the switch. Make sure that you do the no shutdown command to the interface. Make sure you do the encapsulation on the interfaces. What else did I wanted to say? I believe that's it. And remember to always troubleshoot. You can always check once you finish your trunkings. I'll always check, IP int brief here. Or for here, you can do show run, or you could do show interface trunk. So this will show you all your trunks, and show, again, you can always check your list, VLAN brief. And here, stretch it out, make it look nice and pretty. This is default. We should probably turn these off, but I'll leave that to you guys. And we can change the name. That's very simple, really. VLAN 20. You see how it says name here. So just write name. Let's go for word. So give it word. And thank you guys.